Welcome to the channel, welcome to the channel, welcome to the channel, yeah.
Okay, finally. Okay. Greetings and salutations, my lovelies. This is Kamaria, or Black Siren Creates, and today, we're gonna talk about books, because journaling still is not happening, and I don't care. But it is Blackoween-a-thon. We are reading Black crime fiction, and it has been a couple weeks, a week and a half, 10 days of Blackoween, and I just wanted to kind of talk about some of the books I'm reading, that I've started, whatever. So I'm reading in the laissez-faire streetcar location, which the theme around that is, time traveling, that kind of stuff. So I've started a few books because I read multiple books. I read a whole bunch of books at the same time. I read a whole bunch of books at the same time, and that's just how I roll. I can't just be with one. I have to hop because I'm a mood reader. I'm like, okay, if I'm not feeling this, I'm going to move to this. I started out with, and this is going to break my heart. It's going to break Bree's heart. But I started reading, so one of the prompts is read a classic, right? A Black classic. And I started reading The Invisible Man. Not The Invisible Man, but Invisible Man. Because there's another Invisible Man by H.G. Wells. We're not talking about that one. And it's like one of her favorite books too. And I wanted to I got about 20% in and I had to DNF it. And I don't know if it's really 100% the book's problem or a me problem. So I was an English major in college, so I had to read a lot of canon classics and write papers on them and dissect them for symbolism and all that jazz. And I became a librarian with it, so it wasn't completely useless, but as a degree, I mean. But I have a hard time reading classics sometimes because it puts me in that academic college mindset. And I can't really 100% read for enjoyment, if that makes any sense. But the reasons why this didn't work for me, and it's probably, like I said, it's a me problem and not a book problem. There are certain books in certain time periods, the way that they are written, that aren't conducive for my brain. Like, that book is over 500 pages, and as I was reading, and the thing is, the prose was great. I liked the way it was written. I could see the value. I understand why it's a classic. I understand why it got awards. It was on the bestseller list at the time. I understood what the author was trying to say. I really did. But at the same time, I'm a firm believer in the red pen. Edit that stuff. I found myself reading, and it's because it's very stream of consciousness. And I'm not saying there are authors that I love that are stream of consciousness, like River Solomon and Akwaeke Emezi. It's very all up in here. And it just kind of goes on and on and on. So I can appreciate a good stream of consciousness thing. But in this book in particular, I felt like there was a lot of flowery descriptions and talking that did not have anything to do with the plot. Because something happens in sort of the beginning-ish, a lot of bad stuff happens to this guy, okay, the main character, because it's just talking about, being Black in the South, being Black, doing certain things, and how, that goes. which was just kind of depressing because it just kept happening to this man. But I do think that when we are storytelling and, because something happens and he was reflecting on something happening and he's like, oh, I'm probably going to get fired or kicked out of school or something bad's going to happen to me, but I'm just going to sit in church and think. And it was pages and pages of him just in his head. And a lot of the stuff, it was pretty. The prose was beautiful, but it wasn't saying anything. It wasn't furthering the plot. It wasn't, and not saying that everything has to further the plot and you can just sit there, but if I'm going to read 500 pages of something, I have to care about being in somebody's head. And I just didn't want to be in this guy's head. It just felt kind of over the top with some of the descriptions and his thoughts. And I feel like, especially in the time period it was written in the 1950s. So I don't know if it was just a disconnect between, my brain and the times, but it just did feel too Great Gatsby, very a lot of the concepts to me didn't have a focus. It didn't have a point. It was just, I'm going to sit at my typewriter and just whatever comes into my head, I'm going to put it in my story because it sounds pretty. And then when we got into the plot, I was like, oh, okay, now we're back to it. But it felt like we were constantly, okay, this stuff is happening to him, blah, blah, blah. But now we're just going to be in his head and he's just going to be waxing poetic about something or being super philosophical or, getting all up in his head. But being in his head had no purpose. He was literally just in the freaking cloud. I just couldn't get down with it. I was like, I ain't got no time for this. It's 500 pages. No. Okay, no. And I couldn't find, I feel like they would have maybe been better on audio because a lot of those type of very lyrical, prose and very lots of metaphors, lots of, it sounds better in audio, but I couldn't find the audio, so I was just like, okay, we are just not gonna be friends before we get too far. Let's just, call it quits. Let's just call it quits. Okay. So to fill in my classic prompt, I actually started reading another book called Native Son by, I think, Richard Wright. And I'm listening to it on audio and I'm about almost halfway through. And this book is way more it's written around the same time period. It's way more action focused, I guess. It's still 500 pages. It's still written in a way that you can tell it's not modern fiction. But I do feel like it's given to the reader in a way that's a little bit more digestible than The Invisible Man. Maybe I'm just too dumb for The Invisible Man. I'm just stupid. I don't know. Maybe that part of my brain is dead and I can't do it anymore and I can't hang. I don't know. But Native Son is actually really good. It follows this main character named Bigger. And, it's basically, he doesn't have a high education. He, got to maybe 8th grade. He is kind of suffering with the kind of same themes, but what is it like to be Black in a country? And this is it's set in the the 1930s, the late 1930s. And there's a lot of talk about communism and, but he talks a lot about what it's like to be Black, how you're perceived by other people, and how his circumstances, because he doesn't have an education, he it's kind of like this idea of, well, if everybody else is perceiving me to be a certain way and how they view Black people, they're lazy, they're, violent, blah, blah, blah. He basically is like, well, they're gonna think I'm gonna do that anyway. So F it, I'm gonna do it. Even though he doesn't really want to, but he feels like he doesn't really have a choice in the circumstances that he's in. He's poor. He's the oldest boy in his family. His dad isn't around. Is his mom, him and his siblings. They're all just trying to, he and his mom are trying to, support them, and, they're just trying to live and mind their own freaking business. And he gets a job driving cars, and literally, the proverbial poop hits the fan on his first day working for this really rich white family. And he's supposed to be driving the daughter of this rich guy around, and she basically bamboozles him. Like, the dad is like, hey, take her to this place. She's like, nah, we're gonna go to a communist rally, hee hee hee, and I'm gonna get really drunk, hee hee hee. And he's just like, well, what do I do? So like, because he's put in a position where, like, his employer, the dad, was telling him to do one thing, but he also still has to listen to this white girl who could ruin his life if he says no. But it also could ruin his life if her dad finds out. So he's really stuck, but between a rock and a hard place, because he's almost screwed no matter what he does. And then bad stuff happens, and then he's just like, well, crap. And then he kind of is starting down this road of crime and past the point of no return. But it's talking about a lot of things that are still relevant today. It's insane. And the thing is, the language is really accessible, and a lot of the stuff that the main character says and talks about and situations he's getting put in, it could literally be still today. Like, a lot of the things this guy is talking about, and it's set in the 30s and written in like the 50s, 40s or 50s. Like, it's really interesting how, even though we talk about how much progress we've made and civil rights movement and all that stuff, but how a lot of these experiences on what it means to be Black in America, it's still the same, similar. Of, I'm trying to just mind my own business. There are stereotypes, there are misconceptions, there, microaggressions, macroaggressions, all this stuff, feeling unsafe in certain places if you're the only Black person around. Like, there are so many things in this book that, even though it was written a while ago, that still ring true to now. So I'm having a good time. I'm taking my time with it, listening to the audio, but I'm really enjoying it a lot. I did. I'll talk about the one book that I have finished so far more towards the end, but I started a couple of other books just to kind of sprinkle in some different vibes, because I like to hop. So I started The Summer I Ate the Rich, and it's based in like Haitian culture of zombies, which are zombies, and the main character is like a modern take of a zombie, and it still deals with a lot of the same kind of themes. A lot of these books have the same kind of themes, just different flavor. but her mom works for a rich guy and she gets hurt on the job, and so she has to work to afford her mother's medicine now that her mom can't work. And of course, the rich people that her mom was working for, don't give a crap about her. So it's talking about kind of a lot of the immigrant first generation experience of your parents moved here, moved out of their circumstances so you could have a better life, and blah blah blah, and the pressure that comes with that, and versus the expectations your elders have on you versus what you actually want to do with your life. And of course there's like cannibalism and stuff. I'm not that far into that one, but it's so far a good time. And then I also kind of started a book by Kosoko Jackson, The Forest Among Us, The Forest Within Us, whatever. It's right here. And this is basically, I'm the only black boy at this, PWI. So the main character is black and gay, and he is at this predominantly white school. It's like a prep boarding school for the elite, and he had gotten into some trouble and somebody sponsored him to go to this school. He's, like I said, he's gay, he's black, so he's already kind of on the fringes in this. And it's all these privileged white kids. And it even says that this academy isn't like one of the ones where you just go to Harvard and like, these are the shadow people who like run the government, like the Illuminati type. It's in the woods. And he's hearing the woods talk to him every day. Like, he hears voices, and it's the woods. The woods are creepy, so it's definitely setting the scene of being creepy and strange and weird. So I can get down with the vibes. It doesn't really go with my prompts so far. I don't care. I'm also just reading creepy, spooky books by black people because I want to. It's October. I can do what I want. And then the book that I finished that I really enjoyed was When No One Is Watching by Alyssa Cole. And it's basically talking about gentrification, and I read this for the unreliable narrator prompt, and this book kept me entertained, okay? I do trigger warning for like gaslighting, ableism, murder, and of course crimes against black people, obviously. But she goes to her hometown in Brooklyn, and she basically, a lot of the buildings are getting bought up. There are a whole bunch of white people moving into the neighborhood, and a lot of her neighbors just go missing. Like, these people move in overnight. And she's like, nah, they wouldn't just leave. That doesn't make any sense. And these people are like gaslighting her and telling her she's crazy. And she already has a history of mental illness. And then we also get a dual POV with one of the white neighbors that moved in, but he's not who he seems either. So it definitely fits the unreliable narrator prompt. And it's kind of your typical, not typical, but like popcorn thriller. You do have to suspend your disbelief for some things, but it does talk about a lot of historical things about gentrification and slavery and things like that. What happens to predominantly black or brown neighborhoods and it talks a lot about redlining too. So I already knew a lot about that stuff, so none of that was really news to me. But if you've never really delved into the history of redlining and what happened after, slavery was abolished, even in the northern states, because everybody likes to think that, because the North was against slavery, like they were all abolitionists and stuff, when that's not true. So yeah, I liked the book. It definitely kind of set the scene because she is unreliable, because she has anxiety and OCD. Like, she sees bugs everywhere. She picks at her skin because she feels like bugs are crawling on her. So it does have like that kind of creepy factor. But all the stuff that she was freaking out about, besides the bugs, was legit. So, and her previously, like, her husband had put her in, like, institutionalized her when she wasn't crazy. So there's a lot of ableism, and it is a little triggering because, so I don't know if, as a mentally challenged I have anxiety and things like that. So I didn't really like the way the mental health stuff was handled all the time, but it wasn't enough to make me stop reading because I wanted to know what happened. But I had an overall good time, but I could see other people, if you are a little sensitive about mental health issues, it's going to trigger you because there's a lot of gaslighting ableism in the book, and it doesn't get handled in the best way. But it was still a good time. But that's kind of where I'm at for Blackoween. I only have one book finished, halfway through another one, a little bit through a couple of others. So I still have 4 prompts left. I'm halfway through one, so 3.5 prompts left. But hopefully I'll get my butt in gear, and we'll talk about it next week when I have more updates for you. So